Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name's Adriana. I'm a knitter living on the east coast of Canada, and it's been quite a while since I've done one of these videos, at least for maybe 5 months since I made my last one. So I feel a little out of practice, and the reason for that is I took a solid 3-month break from knitting where I knit nothing, and then kind of on either end of that was very like not doing too much, like just a little bit here and there. Now that fall is here, the cooler weather's here, I'm really excited about knitting again, and I have a lot to share with you. So I'm just going to, I think the best way to get back into this is to just start talking about what I've been working on. Most of this was in the month of September, maybe a little bit from the end of August, but most was done in September. So I have 3 finished objects to share with you, a couple of works in progress, and then some new yarn that I'm excited to work with that I'll share with you at the end. The first thing that I finished, so I had started this project before I took my kind of summer break, I guess, from knitting, is this blanket back here. I think it actually, you can probably see it better just if I move and you see it like that. I had started this blanket before the summer, like I started it sometime in the spring, and then it was literally like a switch went off and I was knitting on it like every day consistently, and then one day I was like, I actually don't want to do this anymore, and I didn't touch it for at least 3 months. And then after those 3 months, I was like, hey, this looks fun again. So I finished it after taking that break. But what this blanket is, let me give you the information. This is the Tweed baby blanket by Jared Flood for Brooklyn Tweed. I used all Briggs and Little Regal yarns. The main color here is in the color light brown, and then the dark gray color is dark gray, and then the white is bleached white. So this is what these colors look like all together. And basically it's a blanket where you start in one of these corners, and you're knitting back and forth kind of diagonally across. And then once you're done making the big square, you add on this kind of lace detailing at the end. I chose to knit this specific pattern because I have this blanket that my grandma knit, and I've had it for years. And when I started knitting, I would look at it and be like, maybe when my skills are a bit stronger, I've learned like some more advanced techniques and stuff, I can kind of reverse engineer this blanket and like make one, like have a version that my grandma made and then have one that I made. And like looking at it, I was like, okay, like I know this square is garter stitch, but I didn't really know how to do the edging. But it was something like in the back of my mind, like, oh, you know, maybe in 3-4 years, I can kind of figure it out. And one day I was scrolling through, I think just baby blanket patterns or blanket patterns on Ravelry, and I came across the Tweed baby blanket, and I'm going to show you what the first photo that you see when you see it on Ravelry, what it looks like, because I was just scrolling and I was like, hey, that's my grandma's blanket. Like, it's the same pattern, it's the same colors. Like, I think she might have used the recommended yarn and colors because the colors look exactly the same. So I think I found the exact pattern that my grandma used to make this blanket. So of course I immediately saved it, so I wouldn't lose it and I could come back to it later when I was ready to cast on this blanket. That was really exciting experience for me to just kind of stumble across it. I wasn't looking for the pattern. I had no idea where she got the pattern from or if she made it up. I had no clue. So it was just really crazy to just be scrolling and then see in a pattern photo, like, oh, I have that blanket already. And then know that while I was knitting this pattern, my grandma had also, I mean, maybe there is another pattern out there that she used, like not this exact one, but I mean, it's pretty much exactly the same. So it was kind of special that while I was knitting this one, I was like, oh, I'm following instructions that my grandma also followed when she made this one. So now I have two, the original one from my grandma. The only thing is that's different, I think the pattern was updated at some point between when this one was knit and this one to be from, I think in the past it recommended a DK weight yarn, and now it recommends a worsted weight yarn. And the only reason I know that is because I was like counting how many little like bumps in the lace pattern there were, and the count on the pattern that I have is like one off from the blanket that my grandma had made. And then as I was like looking through people's project photos and notes, I did see that someone had written that they had an older version of the pattern that called for DK weight. And I was like, okay, I think like just looking at this yarn, it seems more of a DK weight than the yarn I used, which was worsted. So I think that's the only difference there is between them. But yeah, it was really special to just like happen upon this pattern and then be able to knit it. So this was a really special knit for me. And when I started it, I was going to gift it to someone, but their life circumstances have changed, and I don't think they can really have too much extra stuff in their space now. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this when I finished it? Because in my head, I was always going to give it away. And now I'm going to use it as a baby blanket for our third baby, which will be born in December. That's actually, I think, the main reason why I stopped knitting was because back in kind of late spring, I was feeling so sick from this pregnancy. This one has by far been the worst for like that first trimester, kind of 10 weeks at the beginning where you just feel so gross. And this one was the worst for that. I just felt so sick for so long. And even just thinking about knitting, I was like, I can't. I need to sleep. I need to lay flat and like scroll on my phone. That's it. That's all I can do. So that's kind of also why I stopped knitting, because I felt really sick for a while. So I had been planning to make a baby blanket for this next baby, but I'm just gonna use this one. And I think it'll be wonderful. I think this is a good size too to like fold a couple times and use as like a car seat blanket. That's mainly like the best use for kind of knit blankets I've found for babies, is something to put on their lap in the car seat. Okay, so that is my first finished object. The second one I don't actually have because I have misplaced them. I do have photos though, so I'll put them up for you to see while I'm talking about it. I made my second pair of Elve, or maybe Elve, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, slippers. That is from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. When I first made this pattern, it was a gift for my mom, and I loved it so much I knew I wanted to make a pair for myself. So this was a good thing. Like after I took my long break from knitting, it was nice to have a project like halfway done that I could pick up and like not have to think about like the whole starting process, just pick up and keep going. But then these slippers were a good next project to work on, like a really engaging pattern that's also quick. So for this version of these slippers, I used, again, Briggs & Little Regal in the color bleached white, as well as some leftover Sendus Garn Pure Gint in the color olive that I had from a different sweater that I made a year or two ago. And yeah, I really like these. I think I prefer the overall look of the first version I did, the like navy and white version. I think just because it's a bit higher contrast. I quite like the kind of dark green and white as well, but I find the navy and white maybe just pops a little bit more. It was nice knitting a pattern that I had knit before because it was quite familiar. Again, like kind of getting back into knitting something familiar but also like really engaging was helpful. Yeah, I don't think I have anything special to say about these. They're really nice. They're perfect for this time of year where it's like you don't want to wear socks all day because it gets too warm, but just having them on for like an hour or two in the morning is perfect. But yeah, I wore them maybe like 4 or 5 times and then I lost them. I have no clue where they are. And usually I'm like, especially with my knits, I like know where they are and keep them kind of in a separate space from the rest of my stuff. So I'm not sure how that happened. I hope I find them soon because I would like to use them now. The next project I have to share with you is my first project that involved steeking. It is this blanket right here. This is the Learn to Love Steeks blanket. Like it's yeah. Even in the pattern name, it's about steeking. So Learn to Love Steeks blanket. It's a free pattern by Pearl Soho, and I made the crib size. I used Patton's North America Classic Wool Worsted in the color. I have 2 colors. The gray color is called Natural Mix, and then the dark blue color is Navy. This was a really fun project to work on. Because you're steeking it, you knit in the round, so there's no purling involved. I don't mind purling, but it is a little bit slower than knitting, especially when you feel like you're on a roll with knitting, to be stopped and then have to purl for a whole row or round or whatever. It can kind of like interrupt the flow, right? So I loved that it was just knitting the whole time in the round. And then because it's striped, it went by, like it kept things kind of interesting, that each round you're kind of switching colors and mindless, but not like you can't just like completely zone out. And I find that in those situations where it's just like for example, the body of a sweater, that it's just like stockinette for however many inches, you can, at least for me, I find myself like measuring every row almost towards the end, like, hey, am I done yet? But this was fun because it was, yeah, you're switching yarns every round. It's also knit on 5mm needles, so it grew really quickly. And then I think the thing that kept me the most engaged was the anticipation of steeking it at the end. So like once it was finished, having to cut it open and then secure it so it wouldn't have like raw edges. The steeking process was scary because you're cutting into hours and hours and hours worth of knitting, but it was really fun. And I love how the pattern has you like finish off the cut part, like where you do your steeking. before I talk about that, I'll just say I did make one modification to the pattern. The pattern has you switching the colors in the middle of the blanket, but I did not want to have a jog in the middle of the blanket, even if it would be like very minimal. I feel like your eye would catch it really easily because there's so many stripes and it would be in the middle of the blanket. So after the first few rounds, I moved my beginning of round. I just cut the yarn and then slipped stitches and moved the beginning of the round to in the middle of the steeking column. So then all of the switch from yarn to yarn happened in the middle of the steeking column, and I just cut right up that. So there's no jogs at all in this blanket, which I liked. I think they kind of were trying to make the, it's not a braid, but like the twist that happens as you switch the colors of the yarn, the twist that happens on the wrong side. I think they were almost trying to make that kind of like a feature of the blanket. It looked pretty on the wrong side, but it's just not something that I wanted for this blanket. So yeah, I hid it in the steeking column and then basically cut right through it when I steeked it. So back to the steeking part. You have your steeking column, and I think there's 10 stitches in between the two like purl stitches that you do to kind of like show this is where the steeking column is. What they have you do before you cut anything, you turn your huge tube inside out, and then using smaller needles, you pick up along this purl. You see these purls here on the wrong side. They're all knit stitches, of course. So you pick up all of these stitches and then you knit a little facing that's only maybe 4 or 5 rows long. And then after you cut here, it kind of curls in, and you connect your live stitches from the facing with one of the stitches from the steeking column, or one of the like lines of stitches from the steeking column, and it makes this really nice edge. And it's kind of like a little bit thicker because there's a few extra stitches kind of like rolled, like tucked under, right? So it's a really nice sturdy feeling to this blanket, a really nice finished edge. I kind of wish that the, like all the edges, this is what the other edges look like. It's just, I think you do a round of purls before starting the stockinette to try and stop the rolling. Mine still rolls a bit even after blocking. And I kind of wish it had like these two edges, the cast on and bind off edges. I wish that they had a sturdier edge like these. This is what it looks like from the right side. So you can see like there's the purls, and then this was like in the steeking column, and then where it's connected with the facing. It's really nice. So yeah, I found this to be a really good project. Again, just kind of getting back into knitting. I didn't have to worry about sizing or gauge, and it was mindless but like engaging enough to keep me like wanting to knit it. And the reason I knit this was, first of all, I did want to try steeking, and then also I decided to make blankets for my kids for Christmas. Car seat blankets. But as I was knitting this, I was like, this is way bigger than what is needed for a car seat blanket. So it's a nice size that, this one will be for my son. It's a nice size that he can like lay on the couch with it, or in the morning when it's chilly, he can wrap it around himself. Both my kids like to put their chairs by the fire in the morning with blankets wrapped around them. But all the blankets we have are like way too big. So they just kind of waddle around with them and they don't have a lot of mobility with those blankets. So I think having this, it's a good size that it can wrap around him and keep him cozy, but he can still walk around with it. And then just like with this one, if I just like fold it in half, it's a good size. And then it's double thickness for a car seat blanket. You could even like fold it like that. So it's just kind of on their lap in the car. I haven't actually decided what pattern I want to make for my daughter's Christmas blanket. Originally I was thinking of something a bit more like with like kind of a lace pattern in it, but I loved this one so much, and I have so much of this gray yarn, this yarn, the Patton's Classic Wool worsted in this natural mix color. I have so much of it because I bought it online a long time ago to make a sweater for my husband, but when it came in the mail, I was like, this, it doesn't, it's not going to look good on him. This is not his color. I actually rarely am happy with the color of yarn that I've bought online. Like when I see it online and then versus what it looks like in person when I get it. I know it's so hard to get colors accurate like in a photo. But anyway, I just have like so much of this yarn. So I used it a decent amount in this blanket, and I was thinking of doing kind of more, like a lacy kind of blanket for my daughter in more of this, but I loved doing this so much. Like I loved working on it so much that I am thinking, do I make a version with the gray and like another color, not navy, but another color for her? We'll see what I end up doing. Okay, on to my works in progress. The first one I have is again using that Patton's Classic Wool worsted in the natural mix color. I'm really trying to use that yarn that I have, and I am making a Selma's sleepsuit, which is a pattern by Petite Knit. This is going to be for our baby girl. I'm making the size 3 to 6 months. She'll be born in December, and I see this more as like something to put her in like a stroller or something outside, but it's too cold for that. It'll be way too cold for that in like December, January, February for those first 3 months. Like she'll need actual like snow gear. So I'm making the 3 to 6 months for hopefully like the March, April, maybe beginning of May. Hopefully it'll fit her then. And then because it's garter stitch and it's kind of oversized, I'm hoping that I can get away with maybe like blocking it again after the summer's over and kind of stretching it out a bit so I could use it again for fall 2026 with her. This is what I have so far, the little hood part, and then I'm starting I have the raglan increases going on, and I think I have maybe 3 or 4 more rounds of the increases before I put the sleeve stitches on hold and kind of just do the body. As you can see, it's all garter stitch, so right now it's just knitting back and forth. I did read through the pattern, and the arms and legs are not knit in the round, they're knit flat. Nice because you're just knitting the whole time, but then you have to seam it after. I did see some people's project notes that they switched that to be in the round and just, you know, purled every other round, which I don't think is a big deal for the arms and legs. They're so short, right? So I might do that so I don't have to do the seaming at the end. But I have some time to decide still because I got to do, you know, the whole body first. The one thing that I don't think I'm doing correctly is my make one left, make one right increases around, around the raglan stitches. As I was starting to do the increases, I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever done, you know, make one left, make one right for garter stitch. Like I've only ever done it in stockinette. And I, as the fabric grew, this is the line where I'm doing my increases around. I'll show you another one too. So here's another one. You can see the line. This is what it looks like on the wrong side. You can see it more prominently there. But this on the right side, it does not look like the pattern photos. It's definitely more like you can really see more of a line. I feel like it's not invisible, like you can see a line where I'm doing these increases, but it's not as like, whoa, that's where the increases are happening as what I'm seeing in the project photos. So I looked up, like, how do you do a make one left and make one right in garter stitch? And I think I'm actually using a bar in between stitches from the stitch below, from the row below, instead of the line, the bar in between, like the current row I'm working on. I kind of like how this looks. Like, it looks, yeah, I think it looks nice. The only thing I'm worried about is that if I am knitting into the row below, like picking up a bar from the row below for my increases, I'm just hoping that it doesn't like make the yoke kind of cinch up and make it a bit tighter. I'm hoping I can, you know, still stretch out to be the same as the rest of the fabric. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, and I don't mind the look of this compared to like what it's supposed to look like. I'm knitting this on 4.5 millimeter needles. I did do a gauge swatch, and this I think is the first time for a petite knit pattern that I have gotten gauge with the recommended needles. Let me just check to make sure 4.5 is the recommended. It is not. Okay, I take that back. I was gonna say I usually have to go up a needle size for petite knit patterns, and yes, I did have to go up a size. The pattern calls for 4 millimeter needles, and I'm using a 4.5. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this looks like. This will be my first project that requires buttons at the end. I was going to keep this for the last part, but since I'm talking about it now, I'll just show the buttons that I got for it. I got these buttons from, you can see the little sticker here. It's a yarn store called Fia Fia. It's a yarn store in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I got these buttons. I got these buttons for when the sleepsuit is finished. 5 buttons. They're just wood. I think they'll look quite nice with the yarn. And I'm just hoping that it like fits in the buttonhole nicely. It's my first time working with buttons on a knit project. I guess I've done one before, but that was I didn't have to actually make a buttonhole for it. I just had to kind of like find a space to push the button through. So I'm hoping that these, I did get like the recommended size of button. I'm just hoping that they, yeah, kind of like go in and out nicely, like secure nicely in the buttonhole. My second and final work in progress is like barely even a work in progress because all I have right now is a swatch. Here's my swatch. This is 2 yarns held together. The main yarn is this Briggs & Little Sport in the color, I think it is Fern Green. Yeah, Fern Green. Briggs & Little Sport in the color Fern Green. And I held it with this Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Pea Shoots. So this is what they look like separate. And then together, this is what they look like. I don't totally have a pattern in mind for this yet. I am knitting this because it's going to be my Christmas sweater. Now, when most people talk about Christmas sweaters, they're talking about like beautiful, maybe like color work yoke sweaters with kind of more wintry looking motifs on them, really cozy. My Christmas sweater that I want to make is a Grinch sweater. Ever since I started knitting, I have wanted to make a Grinch sweater. Originally it was like, oh, I want to make a sweater with like the Grinch face on it, and that will be my Christmas sweater. But it has evolved into, I want to be able to wear this sweater not just while watching the Grinch. So I decided to kind of maybe try to do a Grinchy color all over sweater. And this, I feel like, is a good match. It's giving Grinch, right? The Grinch is, it's just my favorite Christmas character, Christmas movie, the like live action one with Jim Carrey as the Grinch. He just, I understand where the Grinch is coming from. So this is my swatch. I'm thinking of doing, I think it's the Frankie sweater. It's funny because while I was like looking through all of my like favorited sweater patterns to try and find something that I think would look good in this color and this pattern, I was always drawn to the ones that the project photos were green sweaters, even though obviously you can make any sweater any color, but because in my mind I'm like, which one gives the most Grinch vibes? And then I see one that's green and I'm like, oh yeah, Grinch vibes. So anyway, the project photos for the Frankie sweater are green, not a Grinch green, but green. And I do already have the pattern. I don't have the proper gauge for it though. So I would have to do some math, or I think I could go up a needle size with this yarn. I think I did this on 4.5s, this swatch, and I could maybe go up to a 5mm needle. I just don't want it to be, I like the drape kind of how it is now, and I don't want it to be too loose, I guess, the stitches to be too loose. So yeah, still to be decided on the actual pattern that I'm going to use, but I'm really happy with how the color turned out, like the 2 yarns together. I like that it's a little fuzzy from the mohair, because obviously the Grinch is fuzzy. So yeah, I'm hoping to have this sweater done by Christmas so I can watch the Grinch while wearing my Grinch sweater. So hopefully next time I see you, I'll have chosen a pattern and started my sweater. All I have left to talk about with you now is some yarn acquisitions. I already showed you the buttons that I got for my Selma sleepsuit, but I wanted to share some yarn that I'm really excited to work with. It's yarn from the yarn brand that's local to me. Like their farm is like 10 minutes away from where I live. Old School Acres is the name. I picked up, I think 8 or 9 of these beautiful white hanks of yarn. It's so cute because she has the names of the sheep, who it came from. So this yarn is from Pixie and Iris, who are a mother and daughter. They're a Romney BFL cross, and the yarn is sport DK weight. I got enough to hopefully be able to do a little like set for our baby when she's born. Like a Petite Knit has a few like, yeah, baby onesie or like a top and pants kind of matching set. I'm hoping I have enough to do a little set like that for the baby, and then enough to have this yarn held with a white fluffy yarn and do either a sweater or maybe a cardigan for myself. So I have that, which is really exciting. I took a few weeks before I actually like put it away because I wanted to just like see it every time I passed it. I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. I just love this yarn so much, and it smells so good. And then also I did get another one from Old School Acres again. This one I didn't buy directly from the farm. I bought it from Fia Yarns, like the same place I got the buttons, because they were having a sale and this was on sale, and I was like, oh, it's my favorite yarn. I have to buy some. So yeah, just this one is from her neighbor's sheep, which are Shetland Friesian crosses, and it's more of a worsted 3-ply yarn, and it's just a really beautiful brown. Do I have plans for this? No, but I do have enough. I think I'm starting to get enough of this yarn that I don't know exactly what I want to do with it yet. I don't have enough of like one color to do like a whole sweater or a whole cardigan, but I have enough left over from other projects and like kind of like one-off skeins like this that, you know, combined they could equal a sweater or a cardigan or something. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can make that work. I don't necessarily want it to be like color blocked or striped. Oh, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe something where it fades from one color to the next, like holding 2 colors together, maybe. I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet too much, and I don't even know if I'll actually do that or if I'll just kind of keep them separate and use them for smaller projects. But I love this yarn so much that I'm like, I want to wear it. Like I want to show it off, right? So yeah, I'm thinking something that's a little more like maybe ombre-ish or fading from one color to the next rather than like distinct stripes. If you have ideas about how I can do that, let me know. They're all like undyed. This is probably the darkest color I have, like this deep brown. I have everything from white, I have a bit of gray, and then a lighter brown, and then this dark brown. So I could do something like fading from one color to the next or marled. Yeah, I'm not too sure yet, but yeah, if you have a suggestion for how to like really show off this yarn that's not just like stripes or like color blocked in a sweater or a cardigan, let me know. And I would be open to like getting a mohair or something to hold with it to maybe make the yarns blend a little bit better. Okay, I think that's everything I have to share with you. I know I have some yarn that I got like before the summer, but like I don't think I've shown this yarn yet. But that was so long ago. I'm just gonna start from now. Anyway, I'm happy to be back, and yeah, thanks for hanging out with me while I talked about what I made in the month of September. Let me know what you're working on, and I hope you are enjoying the change of weather wherever you live. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.